Eat shit, refs, and eat shit, Boston Celtics. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk Raptors. I'm your host, Officiating, my channel where you get reviews, analysis, predictions, and hot takes on all things Raptors as well as some NBA. So the Raptors played the Boston Celtics today at home. Important game again for us because we're trying to move up in the standings. And Boston Celtics coming off of a hot streak, and it was one of the most frustrating games I have ever seen, and the most shittiestly, if even that is a word, officiated games ever. So without further ado, let's talk Raptors versus the Celtics. In the regulation, basically this game just started off in a horrible manner for the Raptors, knowing that the officiating is going to be garbage and bullshit today. And basically what happened in the first three play possessions that the Raptors had, they were fouled, and they were clear fouls. But the refs don't call it. They call a ticky-tacky foul on the other side, and that causes Nick Nurse to go off and get a technical foul right in the first 2 minutes of the game. Nick Nurse is not that type of guy. And that was just horrible as to what the ref did. And that continued throughout the whole game. Pascal Siakam was going to the bucket every time. OG Anunoby was going to the bucket every time. Freddie was getting hammered by Pritchard, but there were no foul calls for us. By the end of this game, there were 28 fouls called on the Raptors compared to the 15 that were called on the Boston Celtics. And if you watch the Boston Celtics defense, they were playing the same defense we were. They were just as physical, but no. It was just like the refs just decided that, the Raptors need to lose this game. And it's just utter bullshit. So basically what happened is the Boston Celtics take a lead. I think they had an 8-point or a 10-point lead at one time. And basically none of the Raptors had it going. Freddie was, looking lethargic because of his knee. Gary Trent was coming back from his injury. OG is just getting into the flow, even though he was helping him out. Only, and Precious and, Chris Boucher were struggling a tiny bit as well. And anybody who freaking doubted this guy needs to shut the hell up and, go atone for their sin, because Pascal Siakam is a superstar. This guy carried us. He had 25 points in the first half. He was the only guy that was in double digits that was scoring for us, assisting for us. This guy's doing everything he can possibly do, both on the offensive end and on the defensive end. This guy is becoming a monster that nobody can stop, and he's picking the right matchups. And he carried us 25 points in the first half. And then what happens is we come into the third quarter. We can bring the game close. I think we were tied at the first half. And then basically we come into the third quarter and the Boston Celtics make an adjustment. They put two people. They just start double teaming Pascal, and they start making the other guys shoot the ball. And the Raptors eventually fall behind at 8 points, but then they make a run again. The Raptors are a resilient team, and that's one thing I've been saying in all of my videos. We don't give up, and the Raptors make a comeback again with Pascal on their back. Pascal, getting us there. So is OG Anunoby, and then we get to the fourth quarter. The game is, I think we were down by 6 points at this time. And Freddie comes into the game after a timeout, and not a timeout. I mean, basically he comes into the game, and he's being hounded by Pritchard this whole game, and he's getting fouled constantly, which are not being called. Like, I'll get to the officiating even more in detail, and Freddie shoots a three-pointer, nails it, and he gets fouled, and he tells the ref, and ref says nothing. And it just pisses Freddie off. He comes to the other side again, gets a possession, shoots a three-pointer, ties the game, and it's just, you can see it in Freddie's face. He is pissed. And the Raptors tie the game. And then it goes back and forth. Then the last possession in regulation goes to the Boston Celtics. And the Raptors, get them turned over. There's about 2 seconds left on the clock. Freddie has the ball in his hand. Nick Nurse is jumping on the sideline, calling a timeout because there's 2 seconds and we can advance the ball into the front court near our basket and possibly get a better shot than we would. But the refs don't see it. And Freddie passes the ball to Gary Trent, who has to heave it up from half court. Like, what the hell is going on with these refs? And so we end up going into the overtime. And by this time, most of the Raptors have at least 4 to 5 fouls. Like I said, we got called for 28 fouls, and the Boston Celtics got for 15. And, Scotty Barnes fouls out in the start of overtime because Daniel Tice decides to push him on the screen into Marcus Smart, and somehow Scotty Barnes gets called for it. And it is just becoming ridiculous as to how the officiating is happening. And then, the Raptors, eventually the Boston Celtics take a 4-point lead, especially on a free throw that was called on Grant Williams going to the bucket without being touched. And they call a foul on the Raptors. And they put themselves up by 4. The Raptors try to come up with an Anunoby 3, but he misses it. We go back and do this, like, we get a defensive stop, then we give it back to OG Anunoby on the corner, 3-pointer right in freaking Boston Celtics face. And he gets us up by, he brings us closer by 1 point. Then we get another defensive stop, and Pascal comes to the other side. He gets fouled. He nails both of his free throws in their fucking face. And then, we get another defensive stop, and basically Pascal just goes superstar like he is, man. Dribble. He has ties. He recognizes the matchup and just shoots it right over him on top of the key, puts us up by 4. And basically they come on the other side. Oh no, did he put us by 1? Something like that. I'm just passionate about the bullshit officiating and what the Boston Celtics did in this game. And then basically there's another play which causes Pascal to get fouled out. So the refs decide, it's like basically Thaddeus Young is falling out of bounds. He tosses it and he gets tossed up. Grant Williams grabs the rebound and just decides to fall on the floor without even Pascal touching him. And the refs call a foul on Pascal, who has 5 fouls. So he fouls out of the game. So now our superstar who's the only one carrying us right now is no longer in the game. Raptors go to the other side. OG Anunoby, Thad Young, Gary Trent decide to play the fucking defense that we are known to play. And they stop the Boston Celtics. We get the ball. Gary Trent Jr. gets fouled. He goes to the line and he ices. Not really ices it, but he puts us up by 3. He nails both of his 3 throws. And Boston Celtics have a chance to do the last 3-point shot. They miss both of their shots. And Freddie just grabs the ball and tosses it in the air because, like, if I hold on to this ball, they come touch me, they're going to call the fucking foul on me instead of the guy who's coming to get the ball. So it was over at that time. The Boston Celtics lose. They eat shit. And the refs eat shit. So these are my key takeaways. Number 1 is that the Raptors have a superstar in Pascal Siakam. Like I said in this video, this guy is picking up the right matchups. He is going to the bucket. He's doing everything he needs to do, properly getting to his spots. And defensively, he's moving his feet. He's aggressive. He blocks 2 damn shots that were going right to the bucket that would have put him up by at least 6 points and would have likely ended up us losing. And he did that. And he's doing it in big games. So whoever's doubted Pascal's, ability to carry us in big games needs to look themselves in the mirror again. Yes, I doubted him as well. I still don't think he has that, the buzzer beater type of mentality, but he is the guy who's gonna get us to that point where we're not trailing, we're tied, and we need that buzzer beater. I truly believe that, and he's showing that ability. He might become that guy also by the end of the season or regular season that can nail that buzzer beater as well, because he did that today, and he did that very well today actually. So that's what I'm liking about Pascal Siakam. That is my first key takeaway. The second key takeaway is the officiating was utterly garbage, and it has been this season for some reason. Maybe it's because there's new refs in, but they should be trained better than this. You can't be just calling the game completely different for both teams. It is ridiculous. You got to call it even. If one team is being physical and the other team is being physical, let them play. If you want to call a foul on a physical team, then call the foul on the other physical team as well. You can't just be calling it different for both teams. It just ruins the game. It just ruins the fan experience. And there were just some ridiculous calls. Like they called a goaltend on Precious today, which was a clean block. Pascal gets pushed by Pritchard going on a spin move. They don't call it on him. But we go to the other side. Marcus Smart pushes into our player and then decides to flop the hell back. And they call it on our guy. Like, are you kidding me, man? Like, you got to officiate better than this. And the third key takeaway I have, guys, this is shout out to my subscriber, Kenrick James, who asked me this question as to why Boston is doing so well. Well, first of all, this is not a joke. There are a bunch of fucking floppers, and there are a bunch of complainers who are being benefited by officiating. And that's no knock on, like, the players are, Boston is who they are. And basically, they are shooting 20 free throws per game. I think they're third in the league in the amount of free throws they get. And if you look at the type of defense they're playing, which is another contributor as to why they're succeeding, they're playing the same type of defense that we play, which is constant switching, double teaming the superstar quickly and going back to help. And they are also playing what you would call a lot of pick and roll, especially when they have the matchups, whether it's with Jason Tatum and Daniel Tice, whether it's Marcus Smart with Daniel Tice. And the ball is moving offensively because Marcus Smart tries to make sure that everybody else gets fed before he feeds. And it's just been like their defense is doing exactly what we're doing. And they're just doing what we don't do offensively sometimes, which is they just have a natural point guard who's not looking for his own, rather he's getting his superstars going. Now, Freddie is not the type of guy that, he's transitioning into that, and I think he's gonna do that going forward, especially with his knee hurting. But it just makes a difference when you have that true point guard like Malachi Flynn, who's just looking for other people to get theirs instead of getting his own. So that's something that I've noticed that Boston Celtics are doing, and honestly I believe that the officiating has really favored them, especially if it has been going on with the way this game went, which is that they can play the defense however the hell they want, and then when the other team plays it, they're gonna call foul shots on us, and it's just been horrible. So I don't think the Boston Celtics are that great. I honestly believe they were chicken shit for not playing Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown today. I understand Robert Williams, who has a knee meniscus, and he's a big contributor as well because he's a shot blocker. He can get to the rim, and he's an athletic big, something that the Raptors don't have. We have Kemba, but he's nothing athletic as much as Robert Williams is. So I think the Boston Celtics were shitting themselves today because Nick Nurse would have figured out a defensive scheme that would have helped all the teams basically shut down Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. So that's my third key takeaway. Shout out again, Kenrick James. I hope you like that analysis on the Boston Celtics. And basically, guys, MVP, I gotta give it to Pascal Siakam. The guy played like a damn superstar today, and he deserves all the credit in the world for what exactly he did today. He carried us. He carried us in a big game. He carried us against a team that was hot, that was considered to be, a title contender. And now the NBA will take notice of this guy as well as the Toronto Raptors. Highlight play, officiating. Bullshit. Officiating was MVP for the Boston Celtics today. So that's all I have for you guys for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed the content and liked what I said. I hope I wasn't too angry for you guys. It's just when you see this type of things happen to your team, it's just it pisses you off. And that's all I have for you guys for this video. Please hit that like and subscribe button. I will see you guys after the next game.